Let's start from the very beginning.
First, when we founded our first company I was, I think, 19 years old, and at the time we just had some projects and we wanted to work on those. Now, that was kind of the usual startup path. We had a product which we really believed in, that it solves a problem. We believed that there is a problem. And later it was very interesting because we realized that it's not an easy thing to create a message that can really describe the problem, and it can help our clients to understand why this is an important thing and why they should actually care about this problem.
As far as I know, you just plunged into this whole world, and the flood driven you into business. How did it happen that you didn't even have to ask for venture capitals or angel investors, any investment?
That's interesting because statistics shows that it's actually really hard to create a company which can just get one paying customer. We are that really special kind of company where money is not really the problem. That's not our bottleneck, that's not our scarce resource, but that's in the last 10 years, all of my companies, the scarce resource was either money or human resource. And human resource is still a really scarce resource, but money is right now not a problem, but that's because there's a lot of interest, and that's kind of good timing. So timing is extremely important. That's not something you can really control. It's really an important factor in your success. We grew really fast. So we started 2 of us, now it's 7 of us, and we have, I think right now, 19 headcount, an open headcount. So we could hire 19 people, and that's a really explosive trajectory. But with these challenges, of course. This explosive growth is because we didn't do any dead ends. So most of the things that we did brought some results. And that was because I knew I do the marketing kind of thing. So I go to a lot of places and I talk about why I think companies should care about what we do and how it can bring value to their business. And I understand now that it's really important to create a message which is authentic and also transparent, like why I'm saying that it's important. And when I started, I was a hardcore software engineer. So what I thought is that that's the physical thing, that's what you sell. As a software engineer, I'm the most important asset, and I'm the most important factor in success. And then a more mature software engineer told me that whatever you do, it doesn't mean anything unless you can actually make people understand. So I realized that marketing is extremely important because without that, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if it's a very sophisticated engineering solution, if it's a very valuable technology. If people don't understand and if people don't know about that solution, you're screwed, right? So there is no point in writing software without marketing, and that goes to sales too. So now we spend quite some time by just thinking what do we believe? What is our main value? What is what we provide? Because that's what we have to tell them. This company, when we were 2 of us, it was 2 software engineers. That happened because we both did around 10 years in startups. There was no question that marketing is important. There was no question that we need a vision. So now we have marketing and sales from the very beginning. And we do have obstacles, but now some of the obstacles, we could eliminate those because we had those obstacles in the past. We knew what are the things that won't work.
Many startup owners say that they are the proper person and the only one who can promote and pitch their service or their product properly. From one side, I do agree with that because at the very beginning, you are the one who created the idea, who can explain the best your message. But later, as the company is growing, it's absolutely necessary and a must to build up your sales team who, represent the same idea, the same vision. They can explain your why to your potential customers.
I see that a lot. I understand because that was what I thought. So when I was at university and the years after that, I even had this t-shirt with engineers build the future. And when you're out of university, you build these things and think that That's what really matters. When you start a company, even if you understand you have to hire someone, salesperson, you don't want to pay too much because you think that it's not really valuable. So you don't really see the value in sales. But that's a mistake, and most companies can go out of business because they don't hire a good business person, and also they don't want to pay, because usually when you do a startup and you never have enough money. When you hire a developer, it's easier to see what a developer can bring, because you can see the shortened time to market, you can see the features that he can do. With the sales person, it's different. It's really hard to say that this new salesperson can bring me, let's say, X amount of money. So I think one of the first things that a technical company should do is to hire a really good salesperson. Another part of what sales people do and marketers do is that they can bring feedback from the customer, and they can bring good feedback from the market. And that's what technical founders don't do too much, because they believe in technical solutions. And that's a hard thing that you learn as an engineer, is that the market doesn't really care about your solutions. The market really cares about the value that your solution brings. It's just you have to solve the problem. They don't care about the programming language, your continuous integration system, about your test coverage. That's what you can get by hiring a good sales person to align your priorities. Founders many times don't have the right priorities.
I also believe that it's very, very important to get feedback and, prioritizing customers first. And based on their needs and feedback and evaluation of your product, you can go ahead into direction how to develop what you make, right?
It's really hard, because as an engineer, you're getting really excited about technologies, right? And it's really hard because you see that I can do that, and you believe that it's going to be valuable. And then sometimes people realize that customers don't want that, but it's not what they want. So it's really important.
And what happens when you have an idea, an innovative solution, you think it's a niche on your market, and when you try to introduce it or drop it to the market, you recognize that your market and your potential customers are not mature enough, they're not adoptive.
Yeah, you have to educate. It's not about just raw facts. So if you are trying to sell something for a marketing department, you have to think about how those people work. What's their priorities, what they are struggling with, and that's what they will buy. And if they don't understand, you have to educate them. So it's really hard to build a company where the market has no specific demand. That's the most visionary startups are by far the hardest to build. Building Tesla is amazing. Building a car company is hard on itself. If you can build a good car company, then congratulations, because that's a really hard thing to do. But it's not as fun as building Tesla, right? But building Tesla is extremely hard. So that's the same thing goes for startups. It's harder and harder for big enterprises to keep their business, because these technological shifts are faster and faster and faster, so you have less and less time to react to things. And that's where small companies like startups can come into the picture, because that's their advantage, right? They're fast moving, they can innovate fast. We'll see more and more cooperation between corporations, enterprises, and startups, because corporations can bring the business, the stability and the processes. Startups can learn a lot from big enterprises, but big enterprises can benefit a lot from startups. They can take bigger risks, they have better innovation cycles because they can move fast. So actually, one of the things that the future will bring is, out of necessity, we'll see more and more cooperation, and not just acquisitions, but actual cooperations between big enterprises and small companies like startups.